What's up, everybody, and welcome to our soft review for the final project, Minimalist Movie Poster. I've already been there. I did a quick scan, looking really good so far. So I wanted to go through and give you guys step-by-step points, and this will set us up for Friday, right? So Friday, our real final version is due by 6 p.m. We won't do any more video reviews of that, but I will give you your grades and have them ready for you on Monday. So what you can do is actually in the meantime go back to my courses and you can actually look at the grades that I gave you guys for the CD, the iTunes album cover project, which were pretty primo. So a couple things, if there were issues with type and that sort of things, a couple points came off. If it was late, points came off. But for the most part, if you did everything that we needed to do and you had a really successful piece, you got an A, right? Which is great. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with those. I'm happy that you guys work so well putting those things together, and you got a chance to express yourself about music that you really like. So way to go. Yeah. Cool. All right. So without further ado, let's head over. We're going to go right to my courses and begin the review. All right. So here we go. All right. So we'll head over here. Okay. All right. Wonderful. So we're just gonna let me do a quick refresh, see if anybody's gotten in since we looks like Jamie made a comment. Cool. All right. So we'll go and we'll start off here. Let me zoom out here a little bit so we can see the whole thing. We'll start off with Miss Delia. Okay. So Delia, you did Finding Nemo, right? Fabulous, fabulous book. Movie. And we've got our three main actors: Albert Brooks, Ellen DeGeneres, and Alexander Gould. Very cool. And then, yep, a film by Andrew Stanton and Lee Unkrich, right? Or maybe Unkirk, perhaps. Cool. All right. So we've got the big, bad, crazy underwater fish. We've got some nice bright colors, a bubbly background, and a very minimal clownfish. So pretty cool. All right. So a couple things. When I do my squint test, the things that I'm obviously looking at that pop off straight away is the Nemo fish, the big bad underwater thing with the glowy and the crazy teeth. I'm not sure if it's real name. I'm sorry. And then the type at the bottom, a film by Andrew Stanton and Lee Unkrich. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Has the most contrast with the blue background. So that is what is really popping off the page. And then just small suggestion. Here's what I would maybe do with this to take this in a different direction. Where this fish right here exists with the glowy thing is really deep in the water. So I wonder, could we make the background like a dark blue, and then our guy like maybe just a slightly lighter blue, and then Nemo be incredibly orange, right? He'll sort of glow almost in that dark background. And then I think what will happen is you change the type to that color as well. And then I think what happens is the Finding Nemo and then the stars just like pop off the page in a very interesting way. All right, so a couple things I think also what we need to address is check the alignment of things. So, just look like the way this type lines up on the left-hand side. Does it sort of snake down and show up in that space where like right here? So from where these guys are all the way down, are we seeing alignment with that fish in any way, or this type down here? That's the kind of stuff you want to be conscious of. Is what kind of grid system do you have set up? So if you can, try to get a film and to line up with Finding Nemo, right? You did there. I think this justification looks really good. In fact, I might select Nemo and bump it up a font size or two, just so the O is perfectly lined up with the G. It's almost there. It's pretty close. And then your Albert Brooks, Ellen DeGeneres, Alexander Gould, really cool. But what I would say is if you can get those to maybe line up again with that, it's sort of in its own center alignment. And then perhaps with the Nemo face and then the Unkrich on the bottom. I think like if you got that stuff locked together, pow, that'll look great. So I think a film by Andrew Stanton and Lee Unkrich, that should be a little smaller. And then that way it'll just sort of attain that alignment. So that's what I would do. Go for that alignment. Like really try to, I think make that kind of thing happen. Another interesting thing you could try is if you take your fish and scale it up so that like his little sort of antenna like is this big, and then almost sets up maybe behind or underneath the actors' names, and then is really big to give that sense of real scary, like exaggerated fear. But other than that, I think this was a great choice. I think you've got all the right elements here for this to be really successful. So very cool, Delia. So I think right, darker color for the background, like a really deep blue, and then I think just a slightly lighter blue for our fish, slightly lighter blue for the type. Alignment, right? Make sure that we have alignment between a film by and Finding Nemo, and then same thing with the actors. You might want to right align this block perhaps. And then I would increase the scale of the fish, so that way his teeth and face are like this big, and just sort of like that little sort of antenna comes through the words and then down here. I think that would be an awesome way to just like make all this pow just locked together. So super cool. I'm proud of this. I think you can make those changes and this would be rocking. So cool. All right, moving on. Okay, next we have Emily. All right, and oh, nice. You've done Lord of the Rings. Oh, fantastic. Very cool. Here, let's zoom out a little bit so we can see this guy a little bit better. Ah, cool. All right, so you've got Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, right, which is the second story. Was it Isengard and oh, I forget the Mordor Tower name. Ah, I can't remember now. Anyway, very cool, right? Those are the two towers, sort of representing the Great Tower of Saruman, and then the Tower of Sauron, right? We don't know yet that Saruman is bad until he, has all his orc going on and everything. Cool. All right. So yes, we have the One Ring, right, which is sort of the main piece here. Okay, so I like this. I really do. I think the color's good. The type is really interesting. This image of the ring is fantastic. It's a nice sort of manipulation of a photograph I see. But the one thing I would say is, this is the Two Towers story. So I think like, I don't know if this One Ring sort of represents that. And I'm looking in the background to see if like maybe you had something faint. I see some texture, but not anything that is suggestive of the Two Towers. So I wonder, is there something you can do here that would suggest the Two Towers, right? That would sort of show those off, or hint to them in a way. I really wonder. So, all right, so you got a lot of things really working here, right? We said color, the quality of this sort of minimal image is really nice. I like that you just sort of didn't complete the edge of the ring. I think that's really interesting, because our eye fills it in. But yeah, I think we need something that does something, just basically the concept of duality, right? Is like, how can we sort of show two items at the same time, that would represent the Two Towers, right, as being the crux of the story. Again, I know that's expected, but that's why I'm backing it up and saying, don't just draw two towers, but show us perhaps maybe like something that represents dual, right? Maybe you can do two rings. I wonder, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I would experiment with that and just sort of see, what it is that you can come up with. But super cool. I really, the quality of this is really high. All right, you got to get your actors' names on here, right? So yeah, right. You got to do Peter Jackson, and then your three main characters. So I imagine Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, and maybe Viggo Mortensen, perhaps. Maybe Orlando Bloom. He's kind of a biggie. But yeah, that type's got to get in here, right? That was something that we definitely wanted to see on this round, so that we could give you the full advice on what's going on. So yeah, so sorry we can't get that in this review, but yeah, I think working on the imagery is going to be really the primary thing here. So cool. All right. Thanks, Emily. All right. Next, we've got Jamie. Cool. And, oh, nice. Jamie chose a very, very eclectic and romantic movie, Benny and June. Pretty cool. Yeah, right. So we've got it looks like the hat, right? I remember that being a very iconic thing from the story. All right, let's see here. So as imagery, I wanted to have the texture of grasses representing the depth of mental illness. Okay, interesting. Behind bars, by blending pinstripe texture, opacity allowed me for more blending using the blur and muted colors. Okay, cool. That's interesting. All right, I really like the thoughtfulness of that, trying to create associative imagery that connects to the topics in the film, like mental illness and a little bit of romance, a little bit of fun. Okay, the one thing that I think I would maybe play with a little bit is your typeface. The typeface that you have, I don't know the name of it, but it's sort of suggestive of a font that's sort of very like techno-y or futuristic in a way. Like I could see this being associated with like a a video game or a movie that has to do with science fiction. I don't know if it's the font that I would have here. I wonder, maybe something eclectic, maybe something that has different characters, almost like not ransom note, but there are like really funky kind of wood type letterpress. I would look up those keywords like letterpress fonts or wood type fonts. Maybe even something handwritten could be cool. I just feel like this movie's kind of quirky, but it's got a real personal side to it. So like those fonts have that feel and that flavor. Okay, the one thing also with the imagery is the stripes. Especially this font at this scale, we got a lot of blending going on in here where like, I still my squint and I can't read anything anymore. And that's something you got to address, is that like movie posters need to be read from far away so that people want to go see them with striking imagery, but we need to be able to see that stuff. I know on regular movie posters, it's all condensed and tiny and all that stuff, and that stinks. But there's a lot of information to put there. For our purposes, we want to have something that we can actually see and read and appreciate. So, I would address that. Maybe if you're going to keep this way, I would rework the typeface, but I would use white. I would reverse your type out so it's white, and I think that would create a much more of a starker contrast with a darker blue-purple background, which you're trying to achieve. This is interesting. The ampersand that you have here, I get this kind of interesting quirkiness that you have going on here. I wonder if you plug in a new typeface, I'd be curious to see if you did some different type treatments. Maybe the and would be bigger. It could be a funky sort of, it might look like a face sort of underneath the hat. That could be sort of a fun little play of type and image. So experiment with that, see what sort of comes of it. And then I like this white dandelion that you sort of left in the center, although the photo does appear stretched. So that would be something that I would address. Try to get the photo back to its original, like just bring in the original. Don't try to fix the one you have, like reopen it and then just scale it up, but scale it with proportions. So, hold the shift key while you do it. And then that way the flower will appear normal and it will make your background large enough to fit the 11:17 needs there. So, okay, pretty cool. I think, playing with type to get that better contrast, reworking the typeface, and maybe playing with the ampersand as the face of Benny could be really interesting. So, yeah, I checked that out. All right, right on. All right, so let's see. This was Jamie. Nice work, Jamie. So check those things out and see what you like and what comes of it. All righty. Next we have Savannah. Cool. Who's got 101 Dalmatians. Nice. And then, yes, we have the people who I guess were the voice talent for it, and then the director of the film. Okay, cool. So our main imagery here is sort of the faceless Cruella de Vil, right, with the crazy haircut, right, punk rocker before her time. And then we got some paint splatters, which are very reminiscent of the spots that are on Dalmatians. So very cool. All right, I like your typeface. I think you've done some interesting stuff here, playing with the black and white and the red. And then the sort of iconic earrings. All right, so a couple things is, all right, so the typeface, sorry, stepping back for a second, typeface is a good choice because it's a bit of a sort of an Art Nouveau turn of the 20th century. You could arguably say it maybe goes into the 20s and 30s, which is when roughly this story takes place. So I think that's good. At least you're in the sort of quasi realm of being in that space. Really, really good. So that's pretty cool. And then I'm not quite sure the effect that you've put on here. It's interesting. It's not distracting or sort of taking away. What it's doing is it's working here, but then it's sort of squishing a little bit of the font here, which I don't know if that's really what you were going for. So I'd just be careful with that. Take the effect off and just see if it still works. If not, then I don't know, right? It's like always with minimalism is that if you can take stuff away and the imagery still works, like the overall composition, there's unity, all that good stuff. If it still works, then great, then go with that. Because the less we have, the less distractions we have. It's just the communication is instant and we love it. We get it. So, all right. So one thing I would do is I wouldn't just use commas down here with the Rod Taylor, Betty Lou Gerson, and J. Pat O'Malley, is I would actually shrink that type down a little bit and separate those, like give them space in between. So Rod Taylor, boom, space, Betty Lou Gerson, space, J. Pat O'Malley, space. And just like I've been saying to others, is let's try and see if we can maybe get some alignment between the typeface here and down here. I think that would really help nicely. All right, last thing that could make this really cool is we need a texture. We need some sort of texture in the background, even if it's light. I would recommend maybe a super light gray texture, maybe even fur, perhaps. And then I would get rid of the outline on Cruella's hair and face, because if you get a little bit gray and if you fill this in white, it's going to look awesome. And I think you'll then have achieved, like, she'll just pop the page, and then that subtle gray, almost like this gray that's in the background of the web page, but a little bit lighter. And I think kapow, I mean, you've just got it. So very cool. All right, nice work, Savannah. This is really clean and simple, and I think right to the point. Yeah, just keep working to get this thing locked up, you know, with that texture and that sort of thing and the type stuff. One other thing too that could help is a film by Clyde Geronimi. I would maybe put that all in one line and let it run underneath 101 Dalmatians, and I'll just make it a little bit smaller. That's all. But cool. I'm really digging this. Definitely worthy of being an A. Just making those changes, and I think you got it. Next down. All right, so we got the movie Divergent. Yep, it definitely is like the Hunger Games. And yeah, they live in like a community where there's like kinds of people and that sort of things. Right, and this was the first film. Okay, interesting. So we've got the, all right, so let's see. So we got the, right, the 3 ravens, which represents her 3 family members, and to honor the old life that she left behind. I got the idea of the human target from a scene in the movie where Triss is brave and stands up cool to a person of power. So I put together that she is standing in front of the target, though the symbolism of her tattoo, which is located on her collarbone. Okay, interesting. I dig that. I think that's a great way to sort of pull that out. I really like this, the way you went and sort of put the film title at the bottom and the actors at the top. That's not uncommon to see. I kind of prefer that that layout. It's just interesting. A lot of times we see where it's the opposite way, but you know, it can be cool. It has to, I think, work for the specific thing. So I really like the typeface that you chose, because it sort of feels like the typeface that's on almost like barcodes, which this film very much is. It's like sort of a futuristic Big Brother utopia, and I feel like that's a good font for that type of thing. So very cool. I think that's a good choice. One thing I would maybe do is, I don't know if you can like extend the illustration a little bit, or like it feels kind of blunted right here where you just chop the top. I wonder, could like you do something like with reverse imagery, or like put a city or something? Remember we were talking about like sort of double imagery where, you know, like the Star Wars one where the overall image was like the face of a character like Darth Vader, and then the bottom had like all the details sort of were made up of like Star Wars stuff, like city skylines and planets and ships and stuff. You know, could you do something here where like the city sort of showed up at the bottom of this this body? And then I think, you know, for this to be a real target and not just an O, you know, you need the crosshairs. That is like the critical part of any target. So, yeah, so I would make that happen. And I think, you know, overall, this is pretty cool. And I guess I'm just wondering, would you want to make this this body image look more feminine? So that way we can identify that this is the main character. I know the tattoo makes that connection, but you won't know that until you see the film. But that could be cool. But perhaps I would just maybe allude that this is a female character, and I think then that would be really cool. And then I think, yeah, if you can get Divergent again to lock up with this stuff, right? Make sure that this little lockup of type is really centered. There's definitely more space on this side than on this side. So I would just, you know, if you can take that whole 1, 2, 3 block and just slide it over like 10 pixels, I think you'd be in the money. Cool. But yeah, I think overall, yeah, I'd love to see, you know, if this can, like, I don't know, can you show a picture of her like running across a building gap or something here? That could be really cool. If you drew like 2 buildings, like the sides of 2 buildings, and then she was like in the air, like, oh, and then maybe jumping through the target, that could be really cool. So it's like almost 2 images happening at once, but they lock together as one shape. I think that'd be really fun. Anyhow, yeah, just advice, Kel. If you want to, you know, keep working in this mode, that's awesome. But if you want to, you know, really push it, you know, look up those Star Wars, look up Star Wars minimal movie posters, and I think you'll see those examples. I showed them last video, so you can look there too. But yay, very cool, Kel. I'm enjoying this. Has a lot of good things going for it. So right on. Next, we have Miss Mary Ratcliffe here, and we've got, yep, Clueless. Very nice. Let's see here. All right. Wow, it's almost you forget Paul Rudd is in this movie. It's amazing. Okay, so looking at this real quick, I'm wondering, is this 11 by 17? Because I'm not getting the ratio that it maybe is, but it could have been messed up when it got uploaded. However, when I look at this, I am seeing the type here and here, and a little bit here being stretched. So I think we need to just address that as far as having the correct dimension. But what a cool, interesting icon here, right? We've got the clothes hanger that then becomes a question mark as well. I really kind of dig that. All right, but here's a suggestion. This is a bit duplicative, right? So we get that this is a hanger and then there's a question mark inside. I wonder, could you eliminate this interior question mark and then just put the big dot right here underneath? Because then it's like clothes and then it becomes simplified. And again, like stripping away the minimalism, stripping away the additive elements that we might not need, I think would really help this. All right, so you've added like a little quote. It's not required. I think here's the deal. I think you got to master having like the actors, the directed, and the title like really tight and getting this stuff really just down before you start adding those elements. Again, it's like we want to just have what we have. And I know movie posters do this all the time with slogans, but I think this is such a classic film that like I think this image is just going to get it. And I think that's going to be great. So I would push that a little bit if you could. And then last thing is our actors, the names are pretty big and pretty close together. So I would shrink them down and then give them space in between. Right, like to see the sort of lockup that Kelly has here where she's got the names and they're clearly readable and they're still a decent size and we can still see them. So I would make that happen if possible. Next thing is texture. We definitely need some sort of texture in the background. And then, yeah, I think, you know, like I was suggesting with the clothes hanger, I think you've got it. That could just be really fun. So cool. All right. I'm digging this. So fix your type. I think if you can make sure that like this type looks nice and upright like this, and then maybe increase the size slightly of Clueless. Yeah, I think you've pretty much got it. So cool deal. All right, this was Mary. Nice work, Mary. Make those changes, and I think you're on your way there. Very cool. This is a very clever idea. Yeah, I think just getting it super minimal is going to be where it's at. So awesome. All right, next we have Mr. Theo Hartsook. Oh man, great film, right? Ingmar Bergman, The Seventh Seal. This came out like 1955 or something like that. Up 57. There you go. Black and white movie. It's Swedish. It's got subtitles. I know that's on everybody's Netflix queue, but this is like a Criterion Collection movie, and it's great. Ingmar Bergman is like he's like the sort of Francis Ford Coppola, or like you know, one of the great movie makers of. That's probably not even a good comparison, but yeah, he's just he's pretty amazing. You know, probably the most legendary, most famous Swedish filmmaker of all time. So yeah, this is a cool movie, and you've got the chess piece, right, with the pawn, and then the knight. And what's really cool is so this movie takes place during the Middle Ages, and a Swedish knight is like traveling across the countryside while a bunch of pretty much everybody's dying from the plague, and like the clouds are storming, and like the clergy is like, you know, saying that this is the seventh seal has been broken, and that the world is going to end. And I guess it would have seemed that way. So the thing that's going on is this knight is like a holy knight, and he's challenged the angel of death to a game of chess. And they have all these philosophical discussions, and the chess game is pretty intense, and it goes on throughout the whole movie. I won't ruin it for you, but yeah, you should check it out. So, all right, great imagery. I like the sort of double, the way you've got the what I assumed to be a pawn, the shape that you've got going on here. These are sort of less traditional looking chess pieces, but cool nonetheless, right? Because we've got the knight, and then I guess, he sort of has like a rook bottom. All right, so I'm seeing a few things here, Theo. So perhaps maybe, you know, look at some reference for some chess pieces if you want to go for like a certain kind. There are certain styles of chess pieces, but it might just be that, like, you know, if this is meant to be a pawn, pawns generally have like a little sort of base at the bottom. I think I would just add elements like that just to make this look really good. And like, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but less like a snowman, right? Because that's kind of like what this has kind of going on for it. So I would just try to work that out if you could. And yeah, I think your typeface is boom, spot on, right? It's a medieval font. I like that it's a little bit subdued. Try to work on alignment a little bit. So directed by Ingmar Bergman. I get that this might be a line, but this base is kind of throwing it off. I wonder if you should try and align it with the base of the knight, the chess piece. And yeah, maybe try, instead of just a list here, maybe try and do a 3 lockup. That I think might be really nice, and let it sit a little bit closer to the bottom of the screen, or of the page, I suppose. And I think you got it, man. This is looking really good. So cool movie. I'm glad you chose this. This is fun. It's one I've actually seen. So fantastic. Good stuff, Theo. All right, next we have Paula, who decided to do, oh, wow, The Help. Yeah, I haven't actually seen this movie. I really want to. Maybe this will motivate me to do it. Cool. So you've got sort of I know there's like a color scheme that's associated a bit with this movie. I decided to design my very touching movie based on a book that describes the lives of maids in the early 60s in the South. My concept is solely based on focusing on the African-American woman who is the icon for the common household of the period. She is in uniform and with her hair up to identify with her self-neatness and professional manner in which they conducted themselves amidst the challenges they faced every day. She's also shown in a color purple as a reference to the importance to the families, even though they were not seen as important or valuable at the time. Okay, that's interesting that you've sort of chosen this color to sort of make a connection there. I think that's interesting. I don't know if that's universally known. I sort of see purple really sort of having this representation of royalty, and even like in Christianity, those sorts of things, very common, because it's a very uncommon color in the world. And then of course I always think of like grapes, like anytime something is flavored with like a grape or a berry, like purple kind of becomes that color. Yeah, so all right, cool. So we've got so really simple. I like this sort of Helvetica like font that you've used here. I think the lady looks great. It's really clear what she's got going on. One thing that I would suggest is maybe like scallop the apron here, like the same shape you have for the hands, like put at the bottom of the apron. I feel like that would be really interesting, sort of be like a little bit of a classic style approach with that. So, okay, so I think that this is working really well. All right, one thing is I think your font choice for your actors is a bit interesting. It's more of an Art Deco font, which was sort of 20s and 30s. And less 60s, but I guess we have the liberty to sort of play around with this. But font accuracy like that can sometimes influence this. So here's what I would suggest is look for fonts that were maybe more in the 60s. Nothing psychedelic, right? Because that's sort of not what's going on in this space. So nothing hippie. But Helvetica was a 60s font, so that's fine, right? Helvetica was brand new. I think it came out in 1959, so it was like the font of the day. Back then, so perhaps that's the way to go. But it also then looks timeless. Helvetica, it could look like now. So yeah. So all right. So a couple things. We're a rule of thumb is try to keep the font accuracy, try to keep it readable with the time, and just experiment. I think these guys need a little more space in between them, the names. I think to really read well. So I would just play with that a little bit, and then maybe the Tate Taylor film. Maybe it sort of belongs nicely in this area. And you might even be able to bring your character up slightly, like if the top of her head was roughly here, and then the Tate Taylor film was roughly here. These guys I think can stay, but maybe you want to just, like we said, make them a little smaller, but then give them space in between, right? So you have that nice lockup, and then they're clear. But cool, pal. My favorite thing about this, your texture. I love that there's sort of like a little bit of sort of darker yellow in mixed with the bright yellow. I think that really sort of makes this look really interesting. So kudos. I definitely dig this. Fantastic. All right, next we have Alejandro. And oh, wow, cool. All right, so let's read this. I'm not familiar with this. I'm assuming that it perhaps is, let's see. Yeah, let's read. All right, so let's see. It says, a poster which is inspired by the movie Puella Magi Madoka Magica, or Mahika, right? Rebellion. Okay, that was released in October 2013. It is the third one. And was meant to be the sequel. I do not recommend watching if you've not seen the first two movies. Okay, so it's an anime. I wonder if this is a real life version, maybe based on anime, which is basically the same content but with enhanced animation. Oh, interesting. Okay, so perhaps then, yeah, this is an animation. My idea for the background was to create a visual scenario reflecting the dark and cold story the author of the series wanted to express through the characters' feelings. Additionally, I decided to recreate two of the main items used on the series with Illustrator because they represent iconic pieces for the fans, but I also believe that they will attract curiosity to find out what they represent to the whole story. Good, right? We want to hit those two audiences. Very cool. All right, so let's see, Alejandro, what you got going on. Nice. All right, so I like your type lockup that like you sort of made this into like a longer, like the main title, and then you have the Rebellion, which I assume from your writing here is the sub, like the sub movie. It's like Return of the Jedi, right? Star Wars, Return of the Jedi kind of deal. I like this royal sort of insignia. This sort of appears to be like a royal egg and then more or less of a crown type of thing with, you know, all those symbols going on. And I like the vignette that you got going on where there's sort of the negative positive piece going on here. Yeah, I wonder like here you've done very well with the purple and the black, but then you add this third color of the gold. I don't know if that can translate at all, or maybe it's just unnecessary in this space. But I feel like the gold maybe should be somewhere else just to keep our eye going, ping, 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 you know, kind of thing. And then lastly, I definitely think we need a texture. If you're talking about right, a visual scenario reflecting the dark and cold story, get some like dark, dingy, like, you know, cave wall or something in here, or like, you know, something underground, or like wet stone, or, you know, like something that just looks like it walked out of The Ring, maybe, you know, the movie, the horror movie, The Ring. I think that would add like a little bit of more of a creepiness to this. And I think it'll make this vector illustration look a little less clean than it is. Sometimes vector illustrations appear too cartoony and too bright and exciting to achieve like the darkness we're looking for. So I think the texture should sit on top of maybe everything. And, you know, play with blending modes. I think that's going to be where it's at. So one thing to consider is that, you know, texture will look different here and here. So you might want to split the texture in two and maybe reverse it out. There's sort of a negative effect that you can work with, which is a lot of fun. I do cover in the tutorial doing something called an opacity mask, which can take like the white out of an image or the brighter parts and then use that to create sort of what looks like, you know, like when paper gets scuffed, like old comic books, like the ink wears away and you can see the white underneath. That's kind of the effect that that does. And that could work really well on this bottom part, Alejandro, but very cool. You've been sticking with this sort of anime feel throughout. I can tell it's a passion of yours. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure you're probably excited for the Attack on Titan movie. So fantastic. Oh, and last bit here. I love the font. I think you've chosen sort of the very, like there's this font that like I see that like shows up in the often in anime and those sorts of things, but also in like the instructions for goods that come from China and Japan, which is like in Korea, which is quite interesting when they sort of use English. It's this like sort of kind of font that I always see. And I think you've chosen well here. It's got a foot on it, meaning a serif, and it does often sometimes show up as in italic form. One thing is, I think you can take advantage of size here a little bit. I would maybe make these guys a little bit bigger. It's not horrible to do double line for these. I just think like it's a little bit of a thin face, and when I do my squint test, I can't read them anymore. So I would just address that if you can. I think overall, though, you've got this in a really good place. So, right, play with the texture, work with some of the gold in another location, and I think bump this up. I think you've just nailed this this top part. I think that's just working really well. And just make sure that you're centered from left to right and right to left, right? These areas are equal, right, on this piece here. So, cool. Very nice. All right, next we have Anna, and Anna has chosen, right, the classic Pulp Fiction, right, Quentin Tarantino. Okay, so we definitely need this stuff in here. And let's see, so I chose Pulp Fiction. It's one of my favorite movies, very cool. My visual concept, I chose to create the silhouette of each of the main characters, including their most prominent features. I've also tried to keep it in order in which the story is told through the movie. I want to explain, but I don't want to spoil. Okay, no, that's fine. I'm pretty sure folks have seen Pulp Fiction. If you have not, that is your homework this weekend. It's a great movie. It's pretty violent. It's Quentin Tarantino, so you can expect that. And it also has a ton of blood and violence, so and cursing, yes, all that good stuff. So yeah, all right. So definitely we need to have a film by Quentin Tarantino. And I like that you've sort of shown these things. We definitely need the names of the actors, though. So I wonder how you can sort of work out that layout so that that can be achieved for sure. And then I like your font, although I would say you've turned the font to the left and you've opened up the kerning on this fiction, and you've done it all right with the all caps and all of those things and everything. But on its side, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. I'm having a little bit of a difficulty. I think there are more successful things you can do with the type. I think you can lock it up a little bit tighter. Maybe experiment with it being right side up. You know, maybe play with these guys like you've got 5 items. Like look at the way that you can lock up 5 items on a page. You know, is it like 4 corners and a center? Is it like 1 top and then 2 columns of 2? You know, I wonder, you know, there's probably a lot of ways to do this that can be very interesting. But get your type on there. I would play with this. I like the color, by the way, too. I think that's really working, is having the, having the sort of burnt orange on the tan. I think that's a good combination. And it really makes these items really pop really well. So very cool. Yeah, I think this is in a great place. These illustrations are top. I really got to say, I love the Marcellus Wallace with the Band-Aid. I think that's really cool. And then, yeah, these are great. The John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson characters look great. And then the Uma Thurman, you got it. Yeah, you got all the right stuff here. Fantastic. So, all right, add that stuff, right? Play with the type, you know, maybe rearrange these guys in a couple of different formations. And I think you got it. I think you're going to win. Very cool. All right, so let's see. And that's it. All right, so for those of you guys who got your stuff in, a few people have not. You know, we did ask for this to be turned in by 12. I really would have liked to have given you guys like the full feedback. Let's see. Has anybody gotten one in the last few minutes or so? No. Okay. All right. Yeah, a couple of key people were missing. Right. Like, let's see. Okay. Right, Victoria. Yeah, you got yours in, Victoria, right? My movie. Oh, no JPEG. Come on. Oh, yeah. All right. He's in an SVG. All right. Let's see what you got here. This should be fine. We should be able to open this up in the browser here. Let's get this fundamentals of graphic design or new media. Rather, that's the old school name. All right. Movie poster SVG. Oh, yeah, Victoria. JPEGs. All right, at least you got it in. That's fine. Let's see what this looks like here. It should be loading here in a second. I got it in the browser. Okay, the movie is Stick It. All right, let's see. Let's go back here. You've written, my favorite movie is Stick It, a film about a rebellious teenager who gets into trouble with the law. Her punishment, rather than going into the system, she is forced to return to gymnastics. We could all be so lucky. I chose to create the image because it demonstrates an iconic symbol in the movie while showing the gymnastics aspect with the gear on the hand. Okay, cool. Oh, I see. Cool. So for the horizontal bars, right, the uneven bars, you got to have that like thing. Cool. And then the rocket. I really like that. All right, couple things. So I like the background. You got that sort of interesting rough texture. I'm not sure what that harlequin pattern is or that diamond pattern in the background is. I wonder maybe you can explain it with your final turn and you can give me a more in-depth explanation. And that's important, guys, that you all do that too, is that you keep up with the explanation so that I know what's happening here. It'll give me you know, some insight. So I really like what you did with the reversed out type. That's pretty cool. Yeah, if you notice in a SVG, I can actually select your type because it's there as a graphic. Cool. All right, so you've used Myriad Pro, which, okay, can you find a better typeface? I think like that's still sans serif, but isn't one that like is immediately recognizable. I think that's something that needs to be really critical. And then I'd get creative, you know, or at least clean up this lockup of type. Maybe, you know, smaller and then along the top. I think that could be a lot of fun. So, well, definitely summer days. Excuse me. I like what you got going on down here. you know, because you reverse this out, it has less contrast. So, but I do like it. I think it works pretty well. I wonder if you can make it even a little bigger. And is there a period at the end of Stick It? I wonder if that's needed. Just double check that that's the official title. And then as far as the illustration is concerned, what I want to see you do, please, is I'd love for you to really clean up this illustration, because like the grooves are a little chunky. So I would maybe just go in and make sure that that's smooth, right? Really just like, boom, just go in there and make sure it's really clean, looking really good. And then I think this is going to be a total winner. This is fun. I'm glad that you took this in a sort of funky direction. All right. One other thing is that the Harlequin pattern has this sort of horizontal or no, diagonal, sorry, sort of aspect to it. And I wonder, can you take this and work with it or go against it or keep the dynamics going? I feel like that could be a lot of fun. And maybe you can even put all the type on the poster on an angle. That could be like just really rad. So yeah, check that out. See if that's something that maybe works well, because I think then that would make this poster look really like action-packed. And just by putting it on an angle, it really works. And yeah, and then I think you got this nice and ready to wrap up and lock up. Cool. Very nice, Victoria. Make sure, please, definitely make sure that you post a JPEG of this next time. Do we have any others like that? Am I missing a few because I scanned really quick just looking for JPEGs? No, it looks like, all right, there's Jamie, right? We saw that one because she posted the JPEG as well. And yeah, I think that's it. Cool. All right, well, good, Victoria. I'm glad that you got your piece in here. You got it on time, so that's wonderful. All right, my friends. So, right, jumping back to my courses. Let me scroll back here. Okay, so just remember, as far as the calendar is concerned, I'm going to pull up in the calendar here real quick. All right, hello. So here we're going to switch over, and we'll pop open the iCal. Okay, so remember from last time, right? Today is the soft turn-in, so that's great, right? Everybody got their stuff in by noon, as we said, and then you got Mike will review via video. Ka-ching, I've done it. Fantastic, yay. So you guys now have 1, 2 evenings and 3 days, because you have to, this is incorrect, sorry, you have till 6 p.m. On Friday the 7th to get that turned in, okay? So that'll give you really that sort of whole day to really get all that stuff wrapped up. And then I will grade, I won't video review, but I will grade over the weekend, and then I will have your grades in by the end of the day on the 10th. So that should be exciting. And just please, please, please make sure, guys, that you are definitely follow the instructions, right? Make sure that you're, give me a substantial 2 to 3 sentence paragraph. Make sure you're posting a JPEG, and then definitely posting your final AI file, right? So once you've made all this poster together, just put all that AI file stuff right up onto your upload that you're going to be posting for the end of the week on Friday. Okay, so guys, really good job. Just like I said, like look at your poster and then look at Minimal Movie posters that are up on Google and all those other websites that we looked at. I did mention last time, guys, because I know a couple people had asked, the Tumblr for Minimal Movie Poster, it is no longer accepting submissions, but other websites have. I haven't found one that I was just going to post. So for extra credit, guys, if you go out and you find one and you get it published, post the link, okay, and let me know, and that way I can go to it and see it online, and then, yay, extra credit, okay? I will give you 5 points, 5 whole points of extra credit, which can take you from an 85 to a 90, 90 to a 95. Right? So please make sure that that's something that you do, that you get your piece in on time. Super critical, right? Instantly, boom, on final projects, if it's late, I got to take off a whole letter grade, right? Roughly 10 points, just because deadline is so critical. Make sure that you've got all the things that we've asked for. You got a texture in there. You got nice looking type and a really beautiful lockup, right? Like really, really go for that. Find a good typeface. Experiment with different type lockups. Just make sure everything's really readable, really just accessible and exciting, and that your imagery is just top quality, right? The whole thing is that we're just looking for the best quality possible, okay? That's really what I'm aiming for, and then I know you guys are going to come through with. So awesome. So guys, this has been a most excellent summer. I appreciate you guys working so hard. a couple folks, right? We got to work on deadlines, those sorts of things. That's really critical. But all in all, you guys have just been great listening to feedback. I hope you've enjoyed this video-based class. We're going to be seeing you guys, gosh, in 4 weeks. Oh, yeah. I'm not ready, but it'll be exciting. And because we did this summer class, you guys are going to be able to just really just roll into the next courses. So next semester, I'm teaching typography. So if you're interested, you can sign up for that because you're now in Art 210. You can also sign up for video game design. That's a very small studio right now, which is great. We're going to be using the Unity game engine, which is really cool. We're going to create 3D worlds and then walk through them. It's going to be pretty rad. And then at the end of the semester, you'll have built a whole world, and then you'll produce a real functioning 1-level or 2-level game that you can put on your computer or Windows or Mac, and you can put playable on the Unity Game Arcade online, which is really cool. And then lastly, we've got a motion graphics and animation, which if you've ever wanted to sort of take graphic design into the world of television, film, and even now screens, I mean, everywhere, anywhere that graphics move, right, where type and image move, we're there, right? That's the kind of gig that we're really interested in. And we're going to take our skills to that next level. So I hope you guys are ready to go on a crazy adventure. This stuff's a lot of fun, and it's just going to like be wonderful for whatever you do. Even if you don't become a designer, these skills are going to be like so invaluable because like you're just going to be able to sort of come in and sit at like, even if you're a real estate agent at a meeting and say, I can do this myself. I don't need to hire anybody. If you're selling insurance, if you're working for any kind of company that like isn't directly graphic design but benefits from graphic design, which is, folks, every company, guess what? You're going to be incredibly in demand. The person who's going to be able to come in and just say, we're doing it and we're going to make it happen, and I'm the person who's going to do it with you. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your summer while it still lasts. Ha, 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 ha. And if you got any questions, hit me up on email. But I will see you guys around campus. It has been a pleasure. I am Mike Wirth, and thank you guys for a wonderful summer-ester. All right, until next time, y'all take care. Bye-bye.